Good evening and time. Alexis Boyd I'm here for our live stream soft launch of our
So we're going to start off with our story. And like I said, introduce myself. I am Tasha Jackson. I'm co-founder of One Cocktail at a Time. I'm the Midwest chick, born and raised in Dayton, Ohio, and I currently reside in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I've been here for 7 years, and it's been a really great experience. I was looking for a group of people, a group of diverse people that had similar or maybe not similar backgrounds, people that I could gravitate to that were not like me.
Yeah, she's coming in fine.
And
Can you zoom in on her?
I decided to join a book club. Someone introduced me to a book club, and I go to this book club, and we're reading this book called Americana. And here it starts. I meet this young lady. And we just started just talking, this organically, naturally, just talking about the world, different things, our views, opinions. And then we decided, hey, let's get together. Let's go have some cocktails and conversations, actually. And that's how we got started. Yeah, that's how we got started.
and I would say that if anybody out there has read the book Americana, there's a lot of um, discussion about race in America and in the world. And so we had a very pointed discussion, and Tasha and I really had some heart to hearts that night too. And so that kind of bonded us together. And then we learned that we had this shared love of spirits and mixology. And so, like, let's get together and continue this conversation. So, kind of like, as Tasha was saying, organically, this sort of concept of let's bring more people together. We were feeling kind of isolated in our own worlds, and it was not that long before I met Tasha that I had this feeling like I'd lived here for 4 years at that time, now 6 years, and didn't have many people of color in my life anymore. You know, having moving here, this is a very segregated town, and we said, let's do something about that. Let's bring people together.
And also, I
So,
want to chime in. Just being a person of transit, not being from here, I just came in and I was just yearning for some diversity, some like a posse. I had a friend that said, Tasha, it seems like you want a posse, and I did. I wanted a group of people I could vibe with, and we can have a dialect. So yeah.
and that's what we have with us tonight is our quaranteam, people we've been dialoguing with and hanging out with. And I guess Tasha told you a little bit about herself. She's lived around the country as well, and I've lived in New York where I met my husband, and we moved to Chicago and lived in Chicago for 7 years. Then we moved to Ann Arbor for 9 years. So we've lived in large cities and very diverse populations. And then we moved to Grand Rapids, and it's not that it isn't diverse, but it's a lot more segregated than we were accustomed to. So this is kind of an outpouring of that. Also, was a teacher for a long time, and when you work in schools, you kind of know what's going on in the community, and you see all of it, the good, the bad, the good and the bad of every community, and you really are more of a, or at least I was more of a social justice minded educator, and I got to participate in a lot of equity and anti-racism training as a teacher, which was eye-opening and a wonderful experience. So made me more comfortable talking and having dialogue about things related to difference and otherness, which we'll talk about later. Um, and I think, did we get through all of our points?
No, let's talk a little bit more about this one cocktail at a
Okay,
time.
go ahead. 'Cause my cards are flying.
So yes, just chiming in about this about one cocktail at a time. Alexis and I, like I said, we both.
No, I lost her.
Time.
So our idea, right, is that we would create these events, and we were supposed to launch in April, so that didn't happen. And then we were going to have our launch party in June, and then that didn't happen. So here we are in August. We had to pivot, and we decided, let's do a live stream. Let's have our small group that we've been getting together, so we know we're kind of safe in our own little bubble, and invite other people in their bubbles to sort of join us on the live stream. So that's how we got to this sort of idea of getting our idea, just to get our ideas out there. But our vision would be to have live in-person events, right?
Eventually, once COVID is over. Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
I don't know
You're
if you can
okay.
hear, they can hear us both. But,
Yeah.
yeah, live in person, and you always have some sort of experience. So tonight we're going to, and we'll always have a signature cocktail and mocktail, which we'll have tonight. And we've been talking about tonight's cocktail is the Southern Basil from the Lark cocktail book. Kate Bolt of Living Lark
I'm
has
excited to make it with bourbon.
been
It's
working
my
with us. So yes, we're going to make that in a couple minutes, and then Michelle Jokisch Polo is going to meet us on Zoom and facilitate a dialogue for us around the fire. Fire pit, though there won't be any live fire. It's a little hot, but just saying.
Absolutely. But yeah, let's definitely dive in and make this a yummy cocktail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to say?
No, we just appreciate everybody hanging in there, waiting to see 1 minute we would have it, 1 minute we cancel. We just appreciate you all hanging in there with us, and I'm looking forward to see what all we're going to do.
All right.
Absolutely. All right. You ready?
So I guess we're ready to move over to the thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for being
Quarantine.
here.
Thank you, quarantine.
We're going to move over to the cocktail table.
Yes, let's make a
and-
cocktail.
And, yeah, make a cocktail. We'll leave that here.
Yeah, let's
We
go.
got to bring the microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on. All righty.
Maybe in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
don't- So if I put
Yeah.
this right here, is this good for sound? Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so what we have is we're making the Southern Basil, like I said. So at home, and I did post the ingredients online, at home I had to make the peach simple syrup, but instead of using canned, I made some at home from scratch. So we have the peach simple syrup, and you use about 3 cups of this peach syrup. Pour this in here.
Okay. So, Alexis, was this a good
Yum.
choice?
Because I was easily made into a mocktail. So I do have the beginnings of a mocktail going here too.
Yeah.
So if you can make this non-alcoholic version with just without adding the bourbon.
Yeah.
So for those that would rather
Like
do
my
that.
husband, he doesn't drink. I do all the drinking, so he does the mocktails.
So now lemon juice.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. I'm going to be slow, so you're going to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we're going to chat. Some of my quarantine people may want to chime in. Definitely, we're really excited to launching this one cocktail at a time. It's been something, like we said earlier in our story, it's been something that we conjured up and we thought about it and thought of ways of putting it together. And I think what we're doing right now is just introducing you guys in the best way we can right now with our vision by doing this hybrid event, showing you that we can make cocktails, mocktails, and also bring a very good conversation to the event as well.
All right, so
Would you agree?
I would agree. And that's 3/4 cups of lemon juice
Okay.
for those that are going along. And then we're going to add all this bourbon. It's basically about 6 cups of bourbon.
Okay.
Is that fresh lemon juice?
We'll use. No, I could have made. There's only so many things you can do in a day.
Okay.
So
As long as we know that it's okay to use non-fresh.
yes, it's not. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Enough.
well, this is a batch. This is
Not
this is
enough.
a batch of 20. This batch of
Can I pour in?
20. Yes, you can pour in.
So
Please
how do
do.
you know how much bourbon to put in?
Well, because I kind of looked it up before. It's about a bottle and a half of 6
Oh,
cups.
about a bottle and a half.
It was about 6
There it
cups.
is.
Because the recipe calls for 6 cups of bourbon.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
there it is.
But like I said, you could leave the bourbon out. I did actually taste test a little bit of the mocktail earlier to see, and it was really good. So it does taste good without the bourbon. And this is the black tea. I used Earl Grey, and it has been infused with basil, and so it is. It's a little more herbaceous. You can use any type of black tea, but I like Earl Grey, so I use the Earl Grey.
So quarantine, how are you guys been doing at home? Making your home bar? Are you making cocktails? Are you drinking wine? You're making old fashioned. Carolyn, have you been making anything
I
at home?
did the Lombardo cherries.
Luxardo.
Cherries. I'm sorry. Luxardo cherries. Obviously, I'm only one in. And
We're gonna stir a little
if
bit.
you have a bad batch of wine, like a wine that you don't like, because I bought a wine I didn't like, you just throw some of those Luxardo cherries in there, and it turns it into grape.
It's like a sangria almost.
You know?
Okay.
Ken and Mary, I know you guys are more my wine kind of people in my quarantine. Have you been drinking different wines, or
Yeah.
have you guys been trying different wines, or kind of staying with your favorites or your favorite staples?
Well, Ken's an expert in wine, and I'm not, but I drink it often.
You drink it all?
Mary got a new Chardonnay, so she's happy with a one from Napa instead of one from Washington State. And then, this time of year, crisp white wines are the most refreshing. And rosé. So
Yeah.
I love my French
Yeah.
rosé.
Tom's been drinking a lot of rosé.
Eileen, what about you, darling? What have you been drinking?
Younger days, lately I have been doing a lot of gin.
A lot of gin.
Yeah.
That's right.
I discovered Nola.
I just need to talk about this in a second.
Lychees.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Been lychee martinis with gin. I didn't realize that. So this is tonic. Okay. So the last ingredient is 5 cups of tonic. Again, we're making a batch for 20 drinks. So, okay.
And now,
So
what
you know.
kind of tonic
So
is
just so you know. So this is tonic, and so this I was looking for a low sugar tonic because one of the things I don't like about tonic is how sweet it is. So I found this at Fresh Time. It's called Spectacular.
Could you
So-
use the club soda instead of tonic?
You could, but I think might change the flavor a bit. But you could do whatever you want,
Yeah,
girl.
because like sometimes I just, when I don't want to use
Yeah.
the calories, I just switch the club soda.
Yeah, so that was another thing, like less sugar, less calories, right?
Okay.
But I just don't like super.
And
I
you're
did.
drinking mocktails currently?
Yeah, let's add
I would
some
say,
tonic
like,
to that.
from a mixology
You want to add tonic to this
standpoint,
one, sweetie?
the only thing I'm making is nourishing herbal infusions,
Okay.
taking herbs that don't have volatile oils in them and making them into tea. But you could add to cocktails and trying
Here,
to
we're gonna add all 3 of them.
Go ahead, I'll
make a
serve for you.
cocktail. A mocktail tastes
So you
like
want
a
to be
cocktail.
first
Okay.
It's that ginger
in
beer.
line for your
No, this is the mocktail.
Yes, the mocktail.
This is the cocktail. So she's just adding the tonic to that because I just made the base of it earlier.
You do a lot of cocktails at home, correct?
I have a lot of cocktails made.
Yeah, I bet.
Make them myself.
I'm sure Alexis has you.
But like Ken was saying, I've been drinking probably a lot of rosé this
I'm
summer.
gonna add a few peaches in here just to make it look pretty.
Okay. Okay.
fresh peaches.
Fresh peaches, I'm just throwing a little, there's already some in that one, so I thought we should be fair. And then I'm also gonna add,
Like the mocktail.
I bought
and the
Thai basil today. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put a little like fresh
You can put some in the
basil in
mocktail
here
as
too.
well.
This, yeah, we're gonna garnish. We're gonna garnish too, but I wanna,
Thai basil and regular basil.
you know what? I think this is like got a little bit of a spiciness to it, but not like hot spicy, but just a little more.
You gotta learn stuff from
Yeah.
mixologists. You know?
But it
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
It smells
Yeah.
very
It's a
similar.
little bit more like
This looks
almost like a mint.
Okay.
We're gonna get a nice.
Yeah, a little mint.
Carolyn, it's got like a little bit of mint.
photo of
more
the
minty.
cocktail for that camera.
That Thai basil. You got
Okay,
the
so
basil?
we need to. Yeah.
Need some volunteers.
No,
Yeah,
we got it. We got it.
we need to start
Yeah, we're gonna start giving you
getting you
guys.
guys some drinks here.
We need a tongue for
All right,
the peaches.
so here we'll put a
I
peach
got it.
in. Okay. And we're gonna pour you one here. Ooh,
Oh, damn, thanks.
isn't it? And then we're gonna add a little lime and a peach to it, or a little basil and peach. So you want me to do the, oh, thanks, Pam. Pam is,
I'm just gonna hand it. We're just hand it off.
It does.
It's very pretty.
all right,
Carolyn?
first in line.
You're welcome, Carolyn.
As much as, yeah, as full as possible.
Yeah,
I don't wanna get too toasty. Okay, we need more ice than that though. We need full.
For what? More ice?
Ice.
Oh, she wants it.
I hear it.
Yeah.
I hear her. I modified my system
Oh. Thank you, Pam.
for icy desires.
And we definitely want to thank Living Lark for this awesome
Yes.
cocktail mocktail. I'll start one on this side.
Yeah,
How about
let's
you?
give one a,
Give that to Tom. I want more ice.
You want more
Okay.
ice?
okay.
I'm
We
enjoying
just
this
need
with
a-
my quarantine.
Can we put a
here.
little mint in that one, or basil mints? You know, I can't multitask very well. Those of you who watch our Friday nights cocktails and conversations will know that I'm not the best at multitasking.
I think it's a start.
Is that enough for you?
Yeah, I think that's enough for everyone, right?
Yes,
No,
thank
I
you.
mean the ice. I don't. Pam, do you mind to have
I
this
just,
I'm not drinking.
one? You're not drinking
I'll
one
take
right
it, so just set it there. I'll drink it.
yeah,
I just
yeah, we're
want
getting
more
more ice.
Okay, here, I'll take that one.
Sue,
Yeah.
is that enough ice? It goes all
Yes.
the way to the bottom of the
Yeah,
cup.
that's perfect.
Is that yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay, I'll trade.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Oh, we're waiting. We're waiting.
So we're only 3 more drinks in before we
Yes.
can sip.
Anybody else having
Okay.
a mocktail?
The whole, I did want to try them.
Anybody else want my?
All right, are you gonna double fist?
Yeah, I'm a double fist.
Okay.
Okay. Keep hydrated on one side.
Hydration.
So should we
There you
leave
go.
the garnish out of this
Out of the
one so
garnish,
that
yeah,
that way you can
Who else?
remember?
Then
would
you'll
drink?
know which
Mary?
one switch.
Mary, you have one, sweetie? Do you have a
I'm
cocktail?
not going to actually double fist. I'm just going to sit here. And then, so, I think I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Alexis, would you like a cocktail?
Yeah. Well, here, there's one for you.
Is that for Eileen?
Oh, Eileen, yeah, we can bring that to
Oh, okay,
Eileen.
we get that side.
What'd you say, hon?
Nice.
She wants less ice. Well, you can always have more.
You want this ice?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
This is after good.
All
I
right.
know.
Don't forget your
And then,
You're special too. One is a mocktail. So you guys are doing your special.
Oh, yeah.
and we'll have someone come and,
I can only do
you need a,
Yes, please. Thank you.
mm-hmm,
It's very pretty.
it is. Wait, hang on.
hydrate.
Everybody have their cocktail?
I need to put my little sprig in here.
You have to do a cheers.
Okay, does everybody have their?
Everybody have their cocktail?
Cheers.
Cheers. To never being,
To never being the only one in the room.
One cocktail at a
To
time.
never being the only one in the room. Cheers.
One cocktail at a time. Thank you,
Cheers.
quarantine. Cheers.
Yes. That is the mocktail.
All right, Living Lark. Thank you. This is delicious.
Lark, it's awesome.
Delicious. Now, yeah, we're going to transition over to our conversation area. And we'll have our helper come bring the drinks over there.
Yes, shall we? Let's transition.
Okay. Okay. We'll have her take it. Since we have
Whether you got the full glass
a
of
little
ice or
time,
not,
I
still
think,
you can-
before we're running a little ahead of schedule. If you guys are, is anybody hungry? Ooh. Because we do have pizza and salad right inside there if anybody wants to grab a plate and bring it out here while we kind of can, so you know.
We need one more chair.
No, we have the cushion here, but we need, these are our seats, we didn't get enough time. Oh, there's a cushion here too. There's all these cushions.
Tom,
Are you sitting there?
yeah, or you want to go there with next to Tom?
I can go right here. I can go right here. Well, that was one seat. We made all these seats.
There we go.
Oh, is she here? Okay. Okay. Oh, all right. So it looks like Michelle Jokisch Polo from WGVU Public Media is here. She's the inclusion reporter, and she's going to be on our screen here in a second. I don't know. Hopefully she can see us. And we're going to have to pass the microphone as people would like to chat. Hi, Michelle. I'm Alexis. We've been communicating.
Tasha, you need to go over here.
She can see us, but we can't see ourselves. Can she? No.
They're the AV specialists. They know what
They're figuring it out.
They probably do, don't
they
they?
are using that camera to look at the
It's showing on the screen.
She'll see this bit.
Yeah, we will be able to see her.
You cannot tell.
She
You will
can see us,
probably
but we
see her
can't
too.
see.
Your wife is gonna have to tell you. Like so. We're not gonna be able to see ourselves.
Is that okay, Pam?
You'll see
Is that
yourself
okay?
when we switch to.
Oh,
Can,
gotcha. When he switched over.
okay, can she hear us?
She was on full screen, yeah.
Okay, because we can't hear her.
So, not yet.
Not yet.
Will happen.
Will happen. We thought of you guys because you could habitate. So you could sit next to each other, that cozy. Yeah, because we were trying to space out.
Ryan's coming out. He's wrapping up. He's coming out.
Well, loosely. We only, we'll, you know. Yeah. No, I mean,
Where is-
Tom
yes,
is here.
Tom, yes, except for
Ryan's
Tom.
coming out. He had to wrap up a call, a business
Okay.
call, and then he'll be
Okay.
out.
Does Ryan like mocktails?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
So you put everything on the round table sweets? Thank you. Do you want to be in charge? You were going to be in charge of the microphone. So how about Vivian is going to, whenever somebody wants to respond to the question, I guess we're trying to think about a protocol for that. Maybe just raise your hand and then Viv will bring the
Raise your drink.
microphone to you so that,
One cocktail
Our
at a, one,
viewers
one
can
cocktail
hear.
speaking at a time.
yeah.
No, that's what.
Will you make sure it doesn't fall on me?
But it won't tip
It
over.
has a
Okay.
little, you can push it back
A
up.
little
with it.
spring to it.
It has a bar behind it that you have it.
See it. Mary, do we need to change places? I can hold on to the bar.
Voting.
You got it.
I sold the boat.
Is it weighted down back there?
I'm afraid if I,
Oh, look, here we are. Look at us on screen there. you guys.
Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Hey, let's take a photo. You can call it one cocktail at a time. I'm gonna call it Shannon is Harry.
Here comes Tom.
That'll ruin it. Ken and Tom's hair.
Oh, I can't, it's too dark for me to take a picture.
We're just have them do some discussion here and then we'll bring her in already.
Thank you. It goes down there.
He said that
Pass that over.
you're gonna do discussion first, then she's gonna come back on the lady that's supposed to be on Zoom with you.
Okay, I'm confused. What does that mean?
That we're skipping the Zoom and going back to it later.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So we're just hanging out?
We're
When are
just
we
hanging
going back
out.
to it later?
I don't know. That's what he just told me.
Oh, I thought we were going right into.
I think we're having technical difficulties.
Or are we live?
We are live.
Yes, we
So
are.
they may have some hot breaking news. Michelle Obama is on TV tonight.
Oh. I think it was, we couldn't hear her, but she could hear us. So maybe there's some sound.
Facebook right now?
Yeah,
Yes, we are.
Just sitting here.
yeah, just sitting here. Oh, is this you?
Hey, Facebook Live.
I know. Well, this is an
Hey,
unintended
thanks for tuning
glitch.
in. Thanks
Yes.
for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. We are having a very nice cocktail along with my quarantine and co-founder,
Mm-hmm.
and we're waiting due to technology.
And what was the bourbon that we were sipping
Four
at our,
Roses.
no, at our table a few
Oh,
minutes ago?
that was Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond.
Because that was
Since
really
since I'm the spirits person of the group, we had a celebratory little pre-session sip of bourbon, and I chose Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond. And it was a very good bottle of bourbon. Very good. Can't you tell?
Straight bourbon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
straight.
Neat.
Neat. We had some neat bourbon.
So how did one cocktail at a time come about? I know she may repeat this question, but I'm still curious. I've been on the quarantine now for a minute. And I, for the life of me, have no idea what is
Drove it.
your mission.
Oh, well, our mission, right, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Star. I'll chime in. Go ahead.
Our mission is to make a more inclusive Grand Rapids.
Yes.
You know, a more inclusive community.
Yes.
So the idea is that so normally our events will not be people that all know each other, right? But we're in the time of
Yes,
COVID,
yes, our
so
quarantine,
we
we have to
have
do it
to
this way.
all, can only be around certain, our quaranteams right now. So the idea would be, right, that we would be in a room, some people you know and some people you don't, but you'd be given an activity of some kind where you're forced to interact and get outside your bubble a little bit and learn about someone from another culture, another ethnicity, race, different gender identities, whatever. People from all walks of life coming together and just sort of breaking down those barriers so that there's not so much the sense of, self and other, if you will. Does that make sense?
Makes sense why it's you're never the only
One in the room.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how would you attract,
Wait, let's pass it.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah.
So how would you attract individuals or groups of different ethnicity, different cultures into the group? I mean, how would you market your business?
So Eileen, we envision having different events throughout Grand Rapids, and each event would be unique and different. And hopefully, out of one of those events, there would be something that someone would be interested in, and it could be a different culture, color,
Music.
it could be music that could draw the person that would normally not participate or come out. So basically, it would be something that would attract you to come.
And through collaborations
Yes.
with,
Yes, definitely collaborations, like we did with Living Lark with the cocktails. We would have someone in GR to kind of bring their talent, their vision as well.
yeah, and different locations, different parts of town, different styles of venues. We want just the variety of,
Different cocktails.
would you have? So one of the things we want to do after tonight is invite people. We're going to post like a survey, which hopefully y'all will answer for sure, and then other people out there who are watching perhaps too, so that to give us feedback and suggestions and what do you think works with this idea? How can we grow it? That's why this is sort of a soft launch, because we want to sort of develop further too.
Pam has her hand up.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Oh.
Back question. So,
Here, pass that to her.
so now that everything is virtual,
Correct.
and you guys have a couple of events during the week, like you've got a Wednesday and a Friday event that you've already been hosting. And I wish you could talk a little bit about those two, and then how people might be able to join you virtually in those events while we're still in our quarantine time.
Let's think
You go,
about that.
girl.
Honestly, that's more like a marketing tool. That's something we would have to definitely discuss and see how to market and get that out to our audience that would be interested in that. Yeah. What you think?
I'm thinking, the Friday night cocktails and conversations I've been doing, because I'm the mixologist, and Tasha has joined me a couple of times on those. It'd be nice to do we're about to go through a kitchen remodel, so I've been thinking, can't be making a lot of cocktails at home during that. So maybe we can go out places and sit outside and have cocktails and conversation in the community with a few people. That would be nice. I know, like, Shelley Irwin still has she has a lunchtime meeting, like, where people meet up. an outdoor, she started doing that again outside at venues. So we could do something like that. We haven't talked about that yet, but I've just had this idea the other day. Oh, on the lake there.
Well, we did talk something about doing like a little tour. Since our quarantine has some cool outdoor spaces in their backyard, we thought about maybe going to Eileen, Sue's, Pam's, just have like a little quarantine tour. Someone would host, someone would host quarantine, and we would just hop around to each other's, outdoor spaces.
You got three right here.
Yeah, so that was an idea. So yeah.
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 Does that answer, kind of?
Yeah, it does.
It does?
It
Okay.
does. Because I just keep thinking about, so I was thinking, mixology is really an art. And a lot of people drink coffee and they know about baristas and everybody's got their favorite type of coffee. But a lot of people don't really think about the history of spirits and where cocktails come from. And so just little things like that, helping people understand, where cocktails come from and why cocktails and conversation go together. Just like wine, and conversation go together, cocktails and conversation go together. And I, thinking about what you were saying with the diversity, I was on a committee a bit ago, and everybody would drink wine, and it's its own language. But there was kind of this, if you were drinking cocktails, you weren't part of the vino club, and there's a little snobbery in the vino club if you don't know your sommeliers, okay? And so there also, I think, is this opportunity for people to understand that about cocktails, that cocktails have a very broad and deep history. And I would just love to hear you guys talking about that as well.
Oh, my gosh. Let's let Sue talk. Like,
The other day, you mentioned getting a bottle of arak. It's very similar to ouzo, like the Greek drink. And just to add a little bit more, Caroline, it's so true. Like, when you're mixing like drink spirits with culture, because there are so many different drinks that related to different, countries, or that it's like a signature drink. Like when you drink something like, in Israel, it's a very, the Arab countries, or, different countries like Greek with the ouzo, that we have similar one, what we call arak. Arak is, ouzo is a,
So you drink it.
it's like, how they it's the drink is clear, and then you add the water to it, and it become like, the milk color. And it's really like, it's like an anise color, anise like flavor, and it's exactly, we're talking about it. And Alexis mentioned getting one of those bottles. It's true. It's very nice to mix the diversity with the spirits, because then you can get what is that signature drink that this country has. Like it's very popular there, and you get to get that awareness of when you go there. Oh, this is their signature drink. I'm gonna try it.
So here's another conversation. So you were talking about Luxardo cherries, which I love. For some reason, like I said, I'm known to always look for, somehow pick up the ones that are high end. Ken knows this. You won't know the price until and then it's like, oh crap, it's the most expensive one. I think Ken knows this. With wine.
Looking for them in New York City with you.
Luxardo, did I do that? Yeah, I mean, it's like, so anyway, Luxardo, this is a conversation I think people need to know. Luxardo cherries are not from Italy. It is grown it's Marasca sour. Marasca cherries are sour, and they are grown in Croatia. So the Luxardo liqueur is in Italy, but they use the Luxardo cherries from Croatia. So you can't, if it's not grown in Croatia, if it grows in sandy soil, it is not Luxardo. So you have to be careful, because there are imitations. So If you don't have that jar with the, the jars, they're so good. But they're hot, they're expensive.
They are expensive.
And you can eat them. Just, oh, yeah, at
Yeah, true.
I don't want to say.
Wait a minute.
So,
Nobody can hear.
talking of cocktails and conversations and Luxardo cherries, Eileen and I go to Amway because I think Amway makes a really good smoked old fashioned. And Eileen asked that we have some Luxardo cherries. And I was like, okay, she'll bring over 1, 2, 3. She brings half a jar over to us. Half a jar over of Luxardo cherry. So we just ate the Luxardo cherry. Yeah. But they,
Without eating it because
yeah, because we,
Because they're going to have to throw them out
yeah,
after that.
but,
didn't know. She must have didn't know.
but you cannot have a classic, great old fashioned without a Luxardo cherry. You cannot. You cannot.
So I got something for you.
So I introduced Jelani to Luxardo cherries after the last time. And he wants, because he would be drinking a mocktail, because he's only 17, he wants to do Luxardo French toast or pancakes. So a lot of the ingredients, because one of the greatest things about being a mixologist is that you have to use, really good ingredients, okay, to make a really good outcome. And those Luxardo cherries, I can't wait. We're going to do some on Eggos and see what happens with Eggos and real syrup. So I figured out how to make real syrup. So there's simple syrups, right? You use the simple peach syrup. So the only thing of syrup is there's a hot version of that. Like syrup is just sugar and water with a little flavoring. So we've been using, real maple flavoring, sugar and water to make syrup. I haven't bought Aunt Jemima in I don't know how long. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do some Luxardo.
Okay, sounds good. Anyone else have any cocktail stories, recipes, or ideas while we wait on technology?
I'd like to just make my own.
Can we hang on? Yeah,
Give me a bottle of that.
hang on.
Mixology it's like cooking. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay, that doesn't taste good, so next time I'll try a little bit of this and a little bit more of that. But it's really it's cooking. I mean, who agrees? It's chemistry, and I hate math. I don't like chemistry. I don't like physics. I don't like any of that. But there's, I mean, you can. It's what you like. She's looking at me. It is, but not for me because I don't like chemistry. But exactly, it is art. And I think because of my background, I suppose, I think that's where it's useful for me, not because of chemistry, but it's the art.
Why are you looking at me?
Because she's a chemist.
I'm a chemist?
Well, she's a chemist.
Sure. I'm a chemist.
I suppose, yeah.
Always precedes the science.
Thank you. So we're first.
That's right.
That's all I have to say.
I'm sorry. Just trying to find out what our technical difficulty was. I don't know.
Live TV, Facebook Live.
You were asking about the history of cocktails, and I have to say that I don't know a lot, but I really liked what Sue was saying about every region having an area of the world, having their different liqueur or drink that they make. But in the United States, I think cocktailing really started around Prohibition, ironically, and so that's where I kind of make a lot of these old school American cocktails.
Then people can come to your home and
Oh, wait.
have those old.
Okay, Pam has
it
the
made me
story.
think of Pam. Yeah, Pam has a story. to
You
tell.
got a
I don't have
story.
a story, but
You got
you can always drag something out of me.
And she's
I do. I live in a home that was built in 1927, and it was, yep. So they created the home not knowing how long Prohibition would last. So,
You know what would be interesting? Gosh, now I'm talking so much. What would be? No, I need more. I need more. Um, margaritas. You know, there are different types. I mean, you know, I'm from Texas, so, you know, I like my margaritas a certain way. And you probably know your margaritas as well. But I think that would,
margaritas too.
but I think it would be interesting to do, and there are different types of margaritas. You've got the mezcal margaritas, if anyone has had a mezcal margarita. You know, then you've got the fruity margaritas. I personally love avocados. And, you know, and some people are totally grossed out by my. Oh, I've made that before. That is a Filipino. Oh, that's not. It doesn't
Yes.
belong here, but that's a Filipino thing. We make
It all belongs here.
because it's ice cream. It's not.
Okay.
That's
But
why.
it's cultural. It's bringing different things.
Okay, good, good. Then we can talk about food.
alcohol in ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's. Ooh, that has rum in it. Ooh, we could be. I did. Yay! I did. She was over at my house.
Oh, sorry. Here you go.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome. You can hear us?
Hi.
All
Yes,
right,
I
we can hear you
great. Can you
too.
all hear me?
Sorry, say that again.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we
Good.
can. Finally. Vivian, don't go far because you're going to the microphone person. Okay. We have our microphone helper. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you who are tuned in, we now finally have Michelle Jokisch Polo with us from WGVU Public Radio, inclusion reporter. And she's going to facilitate a little dialogue for us. We've been having our own little dialogue here, but we'll have a little more succinct one, I think, in a moment here. So I'll hand it over to you, Michelle.
Yeah, well, thanks all for having me here. Like she said, I am the inclusion reporter at WGVU Public Media, and I'm excited to be here. I wish I was there in person. It sounds like you all are having so much fun. Unfortunately, COVID, and you know, I live with healthcare providers, so it makes it a little bit harder, and I have to be a little bit more careful. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. But yeah, to get started, I would really love if all of you could introduce yourselves. I think it's really important for all of, you know, not just the people who are watching to know who's there, but I'm assuming most of you, all of you know each other fairly well, but it's important that when we have these conversations that we introduce ourselves. So I'll get started. My name is Michelle. I'm the inclusion reporter, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'll share my favorite cocktail, which is, let me think. I think, is margarita considered a cocktail?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I would say that that's my favorite cocktail. I got like a mango spicy margarita.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, they have those at Donkey, right? Should we start? Yeah, let's start with Carolyn over here, and we'll go around the circle.
Hi, my name is Carolyn King, and my favorite cocktail changes yearly. So let's see. It started with apple martinis, and then it was Moscow mules, and then it went from vodka mules to tequila mules to bourbon mules. So it depends on the year. I like ginger beer. And so then this year, I've decided to just do the dark liqueurs like the Hennessy's, the bourbons, and the whiskeys, and I just like them neat.
Hi, I'm Tasha Jackson, and my favorite cocktail is a old fashioned. And I do mine with a twist. I like to add orange bitters to mine.
My name is Ryan Jackson. I'm Tasha's husband. Totally different from her. My favorite is a mocktail with no alcohol, so it doesn't matter which one it is.
Which there are, the picture in there is the mocktail. And I'm Alexis Boyden of One Cocktail at a Time, co-owner with Tasha. And my signature cocktail is the Dirty Martini. I think I made that on one of the Friday night cocktails and conversation with, of course, blue cheese olives.
I'd have to say my favorite tale. Hello, hello. Okay, margarita. Many years ago, this guy put one of my favorite possessions in one.
So, yeah, are we gonna,
Tell them what you put in her margarita.
oh, well,
That could be a story for
yeah,
another
that,
day.
it could be, but, you know, the short version is, before we left New York, we had this going away party, and Mary had already agreed to come with me to Grand Rapids. And all her friends said, don't do it unless he gives you the ring.
So
And
not
so, so, in the bottom of this margarita was this engagement ring. And she gave the glass back to the bartender before she realized what was in the bottom. But there's more to the story, and we'll tell it another time. The good news is margaritas are her favorite cocktail, and, you know, I'm sorry, I'm Ken Kelly, and I'm a sommelier. So my favorite cocktails usually involve wine. But when I drink liquor, it tends to be more single malt scotch. But I'm excited to what I can learn as part of the one cocktail posse. So this will be fun.
Hi there, I am Tom Boyd and I'm Alexis's husband, and generally my favorite cocktail is whatever Alexis is making. But I don't like my cocktails on the sweet side, so my favorite tends to be the Negroni, which is a little bit more on the bitter side because of the Campari. Or the Boulevardier with bourbon, yeah, absolutely.
You know what? That's part of the cocktail, actually. That is the original cocktail, is Negroni.
Is it really? Okay.
Should I keep going?
Go ahead.
I'm an original.
My name is Sue Muallim, and my favorite cocktail was the raspberry martini, but I'm so specific about my raspberry martini. It has to have the egg whites to make it more that on the thicker side, and mojitos. Till I met Tasha, Alexis, and Eileen with the old fashioned. I never been a whiskey or bourbon drinker till I met them. I like the combination of cherries in the old fashioned, and I have been, yeah, the old fashioned drinker.
You were having vodka with the cherries recently, not even
Right, because I wanted just less calories, less calories. I'm trying to go on diet. Then I did my vodka with soda water, but now I'm adding a little bit, yeah, cherries.
Hi, my name is Eileen Brader, and my favorite cocktail would be anything but everything except cocktail with Campari in it. Sorry. So anything and everything. Lately, I've been in my go-to would have to be the old-fashioned and avocado margarita.
Hi, my name is Pam Vitas. I'm kind of just over cocktails lately, but I'm really excited to be connected to people who care about creating diversity and inclusion events and to create a dialogue that's reaching out to the greater community and say, we can just talk about normal things. and we can do it with people from all different walks of life, all different pronouns, all different whatever. And it's okay if you drink a mocktail too with a little piece of amethyst in it. But if I had to pick, I'd say Hoomaloompalicious because I'm a giant Shorts Brewing fan. So, little plug for Shorts. Not that they need it. Everyone loves Shorts.
Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves. I really appreciate, getting to know all of you a little bit more. Now I want to pivot to, why we're here, which is inclusion and belonging. And inclusion and belonging in our communities, right now we're in West Michigan, so we talk about we talk about West Michigan, but not just West Michigan, we talk about our neighborhoods. And I don't know about you all, but I'm assuming, you all live in different neighborhoods, maybe got connected through work or, different friendships and so on. But we might not get to be in the same room as each other all the time, right? Had it not been for someone who introduced you to that one other person, and then, you all connected through a book club or, this one particular theme, you might never had come together. And so to that said, I want to talk about what's West Michigan nice. And oftentimes I think we talk about West Michigan nice as like this positive thing about West Michiganders, but also like this indirect passive aggressiveness that exists within our communities. And I want to ask each one of you to tell me how you interpret West Michigan nice when it comes to issues of inclusion and equity. And to get started, I'll share what I interpret West Michigan nice as. I am not from the Grand Rapids area. I grew up in Ecuador, and my family moved around quite a bit. And I came here when I was about 10 years ago. So it was about 18 years old. And when I came here, I heard this phrase, West Michigan nice. And for me at the time, I, just assumed it meant that people are kind to you and they are inviting, hospitable. But as time and my experiences, I've been here for much longer, I realize sometimes West Michigan nice tends to mean like, I'm kind to you on the outside, but maybe I'll never truly invite you to my table, to my home, or ask you the difficult questions of like, why does that make you uncomfortable? Or ask you the questions that say, I messed up. How do I make this better? I think oftentimes to me, West Michigan nice can mean like we sort of tiptoe around the difficult conversations, and we might not be willing to really step into those hard conversations that maybe don't make me a nice person anymore. But, I think ultimately the idea is not to be a nice person. It's to be a person that creates a sense of belonging for others. So who wants to start? What does West Michigan nice mean to each of you? How do you interpret this phrase? And like, what is your experience when you first heard it?
Michelle, when you were talking, I felt that you are exactly saying my words, because this is how I felt when I came to Grand Rapids in 2007. I actually lost 30 pounds. I heard a lot about how nice people are, but it's true, exactly the way you said it. They are nice, but it's so hard to be welcomed. It's so hard to break that wall and to feel the belonging. I'm on. No. Oh, no. Sorry, but I missed your question. What was your question other than that?
Yeah, so my question was, how do you interpret West Michigan nice? And what was your first experience with that phrase, or, with this idea of West Michigan nice?
Yeah, I think what how you explained it, they are welcoming, but they are not like inviting you in to be like part of the group. They are nice from the outside, but it's so hard to break in. And this is the exact feeling and experience I went through moving to Grand Rapids. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. At the end of the day, we're trying to create a community space, a space where people feel comfortable and safe to share what their experiences are without others in the room getting defensive. So, maybe someone else who is from West Michigan in this group might feel like, well, that's not what West Michigan nice means, right? Or they might feel uncomfortable when they hear that your experience was negative and that it's somehow their responsibility or their fault for what you experienced. The goal isn't to make anyone feel shame or guilt. I think the goal is to create a safe space for everyone to feel like to be able to share their experiences. Well, also, if you are from West Michigan and you tend to feel some sort of closeness or tight or some sort of connection to this phrase, maybe it would be important for you to understand that like maybe the phrase isn't great for everybody, right? Maybe the experience in West Michigan isn't all that great for everyone who comes here. So yeah, with all that said, there isn't a wrong or right answer.
When I moved here 16 and a half years ago, I had heard that term, West Michigan nice. My attitude was just, I didn't care. I cared about me. And I felt like, if I not accepted, who cares? It's what's important to me. It's not about me. It's about them. So I didn't really. I did. There were. I can't say areas or whatever, but yeah, there were a few. I think that I kind of sensed that it was almost like an invasion of their space. I think, at least that's what I thought. But now hearing it more from others, that I think it exists. I think my take on it was just to, you know what, you don't like me, whatever, or if I'm not accepted, I'll just go somewhere else, or what, I can find friends, I can find groups. I'm not that. I'm not asking for acceptance. That's just my personality. I was not asking for acceptance. But it does exist now, especially now that I think the population has changed a little bit in the past 5 years. I think there are a lot more transplants here. So I'm hearing it more and more. Not so much 16 and a half years ago, though I had heard it. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't definitely not like what it is now.
A couple things. I think first to acknowledge this they that we're talking about. First of all, no one here, I believe, is originally from here. So to be able to speak to that, and then I think it's kind of interesting, again, using they, not as a singular pronoun, but as this group of people who are from West Michigan, generationally here, who developed some of these habits to maybe be polite, or it was aligned with their religious values, or they were taught to be a certain way, but at the same time, you're not in. Behave like this to other people who come to town, but you're not a part of whatever this is. And I think that when Oprah came to town and made it into really kind of the laughing stock of the country, I spend as much of my time as I can in northern Michigan, where also people there are like, wow, Grand Rapids, that's really tough. And I think, though, kind of like what Eileen was saying, like, and I think everyone who's here, we're all really committed to just showing up and blooming where we're planted. And no matter what reason we're here, whether we're here by choice or, by whatever other reason, I think it's really a gift, no matter who you are or where you are, to say, I choose to show up in a certain way no matter where I am, and hopefully that does shift, and whoever these theys are that we're talking about, who hopefully are even listening now, it's like, yeah, you're invited to, you're not going to be shamed for saying, wow, I'm ready to kind of look at my niceness or my whiteness or any of these topics that have been very hot in the in you know in the news lately and things like that. And for me, white Michigan nice, West Michigan nice is, it's, well, no, it's, I think it comes from a space of just not knowing. And I just want to say, let's all still, this is an inclusive group, let's all still be open and saying, like, if you're ready to learn, come on. Come on. WGVU has done a lot of amazing things, a lot of amazing programming recently that I've been privileged to host some of in my home, some really tough conversations between the African community and the Black community locally. And I just think that the power comes when we open our homes, when we open our hearts, when we say, no matter where you are right now, if you choose to grow, we want to support that.
I kind of want to chime in because, are you ready to? Unless so, I don't want to. I want to let you guys speak before we speak. But yeah, West Michigan nice is definitely something I talk about a lot because I'm from Detroit and I had never, which is just another world in the same state. I feel like I'd never even heard that term before I moved here. I had no idea it existed. It's just it's kind of like a foreign land over here. So it's very different. But I also felt when I first moved here, like it's so nice to be able, people would talk with you, engage with you. It was easy to make friends. But then, right, but the friendships were very more surface, Okay, well, okay. Oh, okay, well, hang on. I'm almost done. But I just felt like it was very, it only went so far because I wasn't from here. And so there was definitely that sense that you guys talked about where, you could only get so far in that friendship before the wall went up, because I didn't grow up here and I didn't come from that community. And I don't know what that is. I think some of it is that it's a small town in a way that grew up fast. I guess in the last 15 years, this city has really grown astronomically. And so I think there might be some of that kind of culture of like a small town and everything's close knit and everybody knows each other and this is our culture and it's how you survive, right? Like, I mean, just anthropologically. So there's some of that, but definitely there is segregation, which is why, Tasha and I got together and started talking. I'm going to pass.
So this is my first time hearing Michigan nice. I just look back to my husband, West Michigan nice. And I look back to my husband, have you heard of that term? Apparently he's heard of it. So being a transit here when we first moved here, I definitely didn't feel welcome. I came from San Antonio where I felt overly welcome. And once I came to West Michigan, I did not feel that way. I felt, piggybacking what you just said, there were a lot of people that they grew up here together, they formed friendships, families. It seemed like they just had their own bubble. And being a transit person, I just didn't feel like could be a part of a bubble. It was hard for me to connect and meet people here per se. So, yeah.
I felt the same, and we came here from New York City, so it was pretty different, not only in population and degree of cosmopolitan, but in lack of color. And I realized, wow, what if I had a different skin color or an accent or something? I mean, I'm sure it would have been even harder. I felt very lonely and not, lots of kind people, but I just didn't feel part of the group, part of the gang. Now we have lots of friends and, we're happy here, but I felt like there was a lack of curiosity It wasn't, nobody was being mean intentionally. It was just a lack of curiosity. And I've always been really curious and felt that even with your friends, that it's easy to gravitate toward friends that are just like you have to have an intentionality about building those relationships and nurturing them. So I'm really happy for this group that we're going to have chances to do that with people that we wouldn't normally have to. So I'm proud of you guys for starting it, and I'm proud of Grand Rapids for being kind of ready to have that. So.
I'm with Tasha about like I can't blame the Michigan, especially the West Michigan, community because like you said, they grew up here, they lived in this bubble, and they went out to college. They came back to be with their family, with their friends. They didn't need that. Colleges now having the study abroad, and people are getting to know different cultures, to get the experience of living in different, even not just the state, country too. And but the thing is, imagine I'm coming even not from the other side of the state. I'm from Nazareth, Israel, coming from a different country, and moving to West Michigan was when I heard from people just moving from the other side of a state that, oh, it took us 5 years. We don't want to scare you, but it took us 5 years to break in. I said, oh, really? No, I can't wait 5 years because back home, all your support system is social. You get this and I'm very social. This is why I, seeked out the friendship, and I want to find friends. And yeah, this is why I different, like what you said, Eileen, like you didn't care. I cared because I want friends. I could live without friends.
My first my first experience, or where I what triggered was I was at a grocery store. I think this was maybe 2 weeks after we moved in. I was at a D&W, and I saw a person who I met at the school where my kids go to school, and I met her there. And so in Texas, when you meet someone and you have a lengthy conversation, the next time you see each other, you lived in San Antonio, it's like, oh, hello. It's like, hello.
Should we use these ones or take one away?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I was at D&W, and I saw this person, and I just kind of gravitated to her because she was so welcoming at the school. And I said, well, hello, and honest to God, I got this look as if I was crazy. Like, why is this woman coming up to me? It was strange. And I just walked away from that, and I said, okay, well, I'll just kind of move on to the next person, and but I had to tell that story because I don't know if anyone experienced that. It was like, oh my gosh, didn't I just talk to you? Didn't we just have this lengthy conversation about our kids? And here it is, 2 weeks, a week or so later, I would think the same type of reception, but that's not what I got.
I'm somewhat of a startup entrepreneur type person. And so I wanted to dive immediately into the startup culture because I was very involved in that culture in Louisville, Kentucky, where I came from before here in 2012. And I met a lot of great, interesting people. And then you'd run into people in a restaurant. And if this happened in Kentucky, automatically you'd run over to their table, you'd say hello, you'd talk, everybody would have their meal at their other table. And then before you would leave this restaurant, you would for sure take the moment to go over and just say goodbye to that person. I don't know if that's just Southern hospitality or what, but I remember just being so shocked. If I ran into somebody in a coffee shop or whatever, they were like, you're only allowed to talk to people like in certain places, in certain contexts, in certain ways. And I just thought it was so strange. And I've never actually asked any of those people why that happens, but maybe we can get to the bottom of it. Is she still with us?
You with us? There she is.
There she is.
We're long-winded.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for sharing your experiences. I think all of us shared experiences about feeling othered, so feeling like out of place. And let me give you a definition that I like to use from John Powell. He talks about how othering is like a set of dynamics, processes, and structures that engender marginality and persistent inequality across any of the full range of human differences based on group identities. So those can be like your religion, your sex, your race, your socioeconomic status, like not growing up in a specific place, like not being from West Michigan, whether you have a disability or not, your sexual orientation or skin tone. So all of these are feeling othered can happen on that dimension, in different ways and different dimensions. But at the end of the day, these are all constructed, right? We as a society have constructed them because they work. They work for certain people. So when we talk about West Michigan Nice, when people get to know each other, they know who's from West Michigan. Those people help them get connected to networks, opportunities, jobs, places. And it works, right? Just like privilege works for some people, but not others. But pivoting from that, I really want us to focus on belonging. So belonging, it's not just about creating a space of inclusion for others. It also means that we have to foster new identities and new inclusive narratives that support us all. So I have to start showing up to this space, not just as myself, but as someone who's willing to question my own identity, to question my own privileges, to question, where I came from. Is just because I came from, a nice family doesn't mean that I have some sort of preconceived notions about people from a certain culture or people who are different than me, right? And so that's what I'm talking about when I talk about like we truly have to construct a new identity to create inclusive structures for all. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how each of you is creating spaces of belonging for others, understanding through this definition, right? And I'll share my own experience. For me, like this past year, as not just, as an inclusion reporter, but seeing everything that's happening in the world with COVID and with, marginalized people and especially Black communities, and seeing the murders of so many, being able to not just see the murders of you Black folks that are happening and that are being shown in the media, but realizing that this is not just something that happened in the last 3 months. This has been happening for a long time. And just all of a sudden, many people are getting, they're waking up to this reality. And for me, I think that I knew about these experiences in institutional racism, but I think I never truly knew what I could do about it and what my responsibility was. And I have really started to think about, okay, what is my responsibility day to day to make sure that this phrase of Black Lives Matter truly matters. It's not just befriending people that are unlike me. It's more than that. It's about money, right? Where am I putting my money? Where am I buying things? how am I occupying space in at work, and who am I inviting to these spaces? So that has been the ways I've been working towards creating more inclusive spaces.
For me personally, I live in an incredibly inclusive space. I live in what we joke as a luxury commune with a revolving door of artists and people of all ages. I don't even know on any given night how many people are sleeping in my house. I think last night it was 13. And of course, all social distanced. Um, but it is really important to me that people, no matter how they come in, no matter what country they're coming from, the language they speak, the way they identify, and anyone who's been in my home already knows this. I think one thing to say that's really important to say about this group is this is not like contrived. Like we've all already been friends. We've done like retreat weekends together before tonight. Like did not happen because of one cocktail at a time. I think that Alexis is a natural networker and finds people that she's interested in, and it's not important like I mean, she's curious about different types of people, so it's just a natural fit. So I think that anybody who wants to become more inclusive or whatever, it is about looking at your own history, your own stories, and then doing what Mary does and getting curious and just asking questions to different people, whether you're talking to somebody in the grocery store who has a different accent, or you're getting involved with different organizations that support like refugee groups or things like that, or you're looking at your own to spend your own time and talent in into different conversations, but to let it come from a place of integrity, to let it come from a place of who you already are. And I don't really think this is a thing like fake it till you make it. It's like get with your own white culture who doesn't understand right now. If you need to just get together and reach out to facilitators to get to understand where your own stories come from, rather than kind of faking it and creating invented kind of relationships. There's a lot of reading to do, a lot of movies to watch, and a lot of BIPOC, ABCD, all those letters of people who are out there who are have the capacity to be facilitators, and those people should be paid well to do that kind of work, and that money should be coming from people who need to do their own dismantling within themselves. That's just my opinion. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm not really interested so much in the like academic version of it. I just want to show up at my own house, see who's there, who needs something, somebody, and a new perspective. So.
For me, speaking of me, like I tried and still trying to turn my suffering to help people, to inspire people around me, and especially people that they are coming newcomers to this area. Then I'm there for them. I speak 3 different languages. Then I got opportunities just to meet people that they don't speak English. I had to help them. And I think if each of us use the strength they have to bring to this community and to help out and to educate also, to still educate, because no matter how much, like at the beginning, I felt like I'm getting not bored, but I'm getting tired of keep explaining the same thing all over again, where I'm from, or questions that I felt like, really? You're asking me this question, but I had to repeat myself a couple times for people to understand what I'm talking about. And going back to get my degree here at Cornerstone, I'm like you, Eileen, when you went to that store, like I expected, I'm coming from the warmth. I need the hug. I need that to feel like the warmth. And going to that class, just to get to the class and no one will say hi. They will come to the class and just get their seat. And then I just waited till the 18 months that we lived together. We did pray together. We opened up with our, like, what we need, to talk about. And after actually the last class, I was expecting for everyone just to give a hug to say goodbye. They just left the room that they are coming, like they are coming back the next week. Then I had to talk about it. I had to say, no, we are doing something here. We're gonna have, we're gonna share a meal together. We're gonna say a goodbye and share information and keep in touch and see where we're gonna get with this degree. Then yeah, I feel like I try to just, to do something with my suffering, just to go out and help and educate and keep talking about it.
No? You want?
Ryan, I'm talking. This is something Ryan and I, we tried to do. We currently had recently we had a bourbon tasting party, and we intentionally invite people. Ryan, you would say that we purposely want to bring people together, like our Indian neighbors. We invited them. Some other friends. We try to bring different people together, different people to the room that normally don't come together. So that's something that I try to incorporate. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I would just say that, I mean, that's kind of like why we started one cocktail at a time. For me, living in lots of large cities and being from a diverse area and just, I was really feeling like the lack of diversity in my life a couple of years ago, other than a couple of people I knew. And so I felt I was very intentional about going out and forging specific relationships, being a connector, I guess. And it's not the first time somebody said that. I don't see myself that way, but perhaps I do that because I'm intentional about connecting with other people. And I always feel like if you have a party, if you connected with somebody, the other people you connected with are going to like them too. Like just because you found something in common together, no matter what. I don't know. This is a passion project for me to bring people, because I feel like if people speak to each other from their hearts and have real, genuine, authentic conversation without fear of being judged, like the safe zone we talk about in our quarantine here, then you're able, that you take that with you out into the world with everybody else that you meet, and it extrapolates from there. And then from there, perhaps, we all do different things in the community and work in different businesses. From there, we can affect change on a larger scale, but it has to start from within. You can't force a heart to change. You have to show people other people's hearts. And I think that's what I think we're trying to do. And that's how I feel. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've seen lots of people starting lots of conversations on Zoom with everything that's been happening all over the country. And it's great. And I've tried to participate in those kinds of conversations since I was in high school. I mean, I've always liked that. I've always looked for people's different perspectives and different groups to join and listen into. And as Michelle mentioned, there are a lot of people that are like, oh, I didn't realize this was happening, but it's been happening for decades and centuries. So I think it's great to get into those conversations and explore your thoughts and your feelings with other people that look just like you. But then you have to be, again, intentional. And I bring up the word relationships again. I think you have to build relationships. You can't just be thinking, oh, yeah, now I get it. And now I don't feel superior to any other group of people. That's not enough. You have to have relationships. You have to have friendships. You have to interact. You have to share things, laugh together, cry together. So, but that's always hard, taking that next step. But I think that's an important piece of it. And I think that's what one cocktail at a time is going to help move us a little bit forward in that way. So.
We can send it back to Michelle too. Okay. You're having thoughts?
I mean, who doesn't like learning about different cultures or I just, to me, I'm like a sponge. I want to know what my neighbors, where they're from. I want to know about them. And I love to meet uh, different people and just, to me, it's an education. I mean, why would you not want to know about the different people, different communities? Yeah, people feel threatened, I suppose. I mean, I tell you, I mean, my motto is like, I'll go to a party by myself, leave with with a friend. It's just love, love, love people. Different colors, different cultures, whatever. It's like, it's an education. I mean, I can't imagine not anyone like, liking that and wanting that.
It's just boring.
Yeah, it would be boring.
It would be boring. True. Yeah.
I mean, and I didn't say anything before, but when when we came to Grand Rapids 30 years ago, I was recruited to a good paying job with a big company. And so I made friends right away, no problem, and felt included, no problem. And so it's a dramatic contrast with a lot of the other conversations that we've had today. I mean, the biggest thing we wondered about was like, how could all these people in West Michigan like Notre Dame more than Michigan? They wanted Notre Dame to win or Michigan State. They weren't Michigan fans. I thought, what's wrong with these people over here? So it's nothing compared to what all the other conversations today have been about. But I've also been riding my wife's coattails who didn't have the same experience as we moved from New York that I did. She didn't come to join a company that recruited her to move to Grand Rapids. And I can't believe the experience she had in New York, and the West Michigan nice response was, well, yeah, we don't care if you work for Bank of New York and Christie's Auction House or Van Cleef and Arpels Jewelry Store. What have you done local? What have you done here? And that's where, I thought, wow, I am so glad that I didn't have to deal with that kind of baloney. And so, I am very happy to be, again, riding Mary's coattails into all kind of diversity and inclusion activities, and to have such a great group to do it with as we have here. So, great idea, great cocktail. This will be fun.
Does anybody else want to respond to that, or do we want to let Michelle? I think she has another question or so.
Yeah, so one of the things I want to talk about is action. Alexis, I think you mentioned that it's great to be inclusive. It's great to say you're welcome here, but another part of it is action. So, and I think the first part of that is building authentic relationships with one another, where we can encourage each other to show up in the way that they want to show up. But when it comes to action, I want to ask you all to discuss what action steps are you taking to ensure that we're addressing the disparities that we're seeing, whether it's through COVID-19 or systemic racism or, wage gaps. What kind of actions are you all taking to address these? And it doesn't have to be, I'm donating $10,000 to a foundation that is supporting undocumented immigrants. It can be something as simple as like, I am making friends with people who don't look like me, and I am not inserting my opinions or questions about how they live their lives or how they experience the world, but instead I'm creating a space for them to show up as they are, and for them to give me feedback in our mutual relationship.
Seem like Tasha's looking like she has something to say.
No, I'm thinking, I'm just taking that question in. I think that's something we're doing now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that's something I've always did. I've always tried to include.
Okay. Oops, sorry. I think it's because I went by these microphones.
I mean, just a quick, I mean, how I would, you know,
Twist it around when it starts to go out.
making,
Yeah, I don't know what.
hello?
Yeah.
What I've been doing is, I'm not afraid to introduce different food, you know, I'm making, baking things that are not the norm here. So it's sort of like the educating people. This is what I mean, who would have heard of avocado margaritas here? So I'm not afraid. I mean, there were some people who kind of turned their noses and thought that was a little odd to have a drink, a cocktail that is made out of avocados. Um, you know, I'm cooking different types of food that you would normally not find in West Michigan. So you know, I guess educating um, uh, my friends. I mean, you know, what this type of food is from this country and typical of Texas or different regions of Texas, different regions in the United States. So I think just introducing that food and different cocktails and what have you. You know what I'm saying. I think it's the cocktail. Vivian will know.
I think I covered a lot of it in my last little speech, but Eileen in particular has been supporting our friend Marta with Together We Cook, which is on Facebook. And that is Italian cooking. And it's been bringing people from all over the world together through the Zoom. And what it's done, though, locally, I think there's about 60 people at this point in that group, and introducing us to different products and also different people within the community that have that passion. And so, again, it's creating relationships in a natural, authentic way. So Alexis is saying going out and finding specific people, but it's still coming from that authentic space. So that, I feel like, is really important. Intentionally seeking, but sticking with the natural connections. And for me, I'm like just guiding and consulting is sort of my whole MO. And anytime people want to have a transformation in the way they are, that's kind of like my full-time gig. So existential crisis and all.
To add to that, we had a couple functions through that. We are actually a couple of us on the Kent County Medical Society Alliance, and we used to have gala in the past. And I decided also to introduce our Middle Eastern food, and I donated Middle Eastern dinners, and it went so well. I remember the first gala, I had to go with another dinner to actually donate 2 dinners because people were fighting over that food. Then I think also that, like, you know, you can't go wrong with food, with introducing like a different cuisine. And I think this is a great idea of bringing people together with food and cocktail.
What Pam was saying about this Together We Cook, which is our friend Marta Banu holds, I would have never thought some of the things that she's introduced us to are not your typical what you would find in an Italian restaurant. So I'm really happy to have joined, and I really learned a lot. The different regions of Italy, you know, the way that different types of spaghetti in different regions of Italy. They're all made differently. So I didn't know that. To me, spaghetti was spaghetti. So
I think that we're doing what it is that this intentional kind of space we're trying to create. So, and I really appreciate all of the things that our friends are saying it's cool to hear you guys saying these things because they're exactly spot on to what we're trying to accomplish. And it's just very heartwarming to hear coming from you guys. Like it's almost like it's coming from us. I guess we're meant to all be friends. So I appreciate that.
Yes. You just passing it to me? No, it just goes full circle. It's our vision, and it's full circle right now. We just see our vision. You know, we've been talking about it, and it's just come full circle. And I'm just so full of joy of it. Yeah, it's what we wanted.
Okay.
I don't know how many of the people out there in Facebook land are watching now and have looked at the marketing. And I think that even though we've talked about it a lot, we were all still confused. Like, what would this be? What would this look like? What is it? One cocktail at a time, does that mean you don't drink more than one at a time? I don't get it. Like, can you have more than one cocktail at this event? Are there tickets? No. But like, everybody and people have been reaching out to me and saying like, what is this going to be? And I think that to just big props to you guys because you have really like held the vision so clearly between yourselves. And so that, yeah, as we show up here today, it's exactly what you envisioned. And now everyone out there can be like, oh, that's what it is. So, yay, you did it. I think so.
That was the goal of this event, to kind of get, right, like an idea of, what it's like to come to one of our events when we can come and be with you in person as opposed to, right. You know, experiences like this, only, they might not be quite as intimate, but maybe they will be. I don't know.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know what we'll come up with.
Because they're zoomed in on me. I want you to be in the
Oh,
picture too.
no, absolutely. It's just like what Pam is saying. People were like, what is this one cocktail at a time? You know, cocktails is what we're talking about, but it's not the main thing. The main thing is bringing people together, talking about things, discussing things, amongst people, learning.
And one cocktail at a time is breaking it down breaking it down one cocktail at a time, not.
Yeah.
Yeah?
One mocktail at a time.
Breaking it
Yeah.
down one cocktail at a time, not like
Yeah.
you can only have one cocktail at a time.
Yeah.
But
Or one mocktail at a time.
okay. But we didn't want, like Tasha and I talked about this a lot. Like we didn't want the events to be just about drinking, We wanted, we shared this commonality together, so it was a natural for us, and that's why we'll always have a mocktail too. Pam's on her third mocktail. Watch out. But the point is, you're breaking down. It's just a medium of exchange to get things moving forward. To have something in your hand, whether it's alcoholic or not, just to.
But it's bringing people
Just like breaking bread together. I think, like you're talking about, I've in a lot of different discourses I've had, that's a very important thing, to be able to breaking bread together.
So we're just
Brings
having
people together,
cocktails
right.
And it's bringing us together. It's one cocktail at a time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How are we doing with time?
I mean, we're overtime. So,
Oh.
Michelle, how are you doing over there?
I'm doing good. I just again wanted to thank you all for your time. I think what I really wanted us to get out of the last question is like holding each other responsible, right? To this idea of like, how are we creating spaces of inclusion, spaces where others unlike us are not just feeling welcome, but truly being welcomed. And, like I said, for me, that means making sure I intentionally buy from businesses owned by Black people in my community, and not just buying from them, consuming, but also getting to know what's their story. Where are they located at? Why are they doing this? And trying to diversify my spending. So that's my action for me. And that's, by me putting it out there means that you all get to hold me responsible to this action, right? And that's why I brought up that question about action, because I want you all to hold each other accountable to this work, that it's not just simply about talking about diversity and saying I love everyone, I am a truly, welcoming person, but like where are we putting our money at? How are we making these relationships? Um, so that's why I brought that question up,
When
and
you when you
wanted to end it there.
when you first said that, the first thing that came to my mind was just I went back to this experience I had in college, which I think was very formative for me. I was visiting a friend, and this is in the 80s, so I'm dating myself, but at Michigan State. And I was walking down the hall of this dormitory, and there was an African American male student walking in front of us, and these 2 or 3 white kids came out of their dorm room, and they started yelling at this kid, and calling him the N-word and all sorts of stuff. And I was irate and upset, and I was screaming at these boys like, no to, I don't even know what I said. I was so like angry and impassioned, and like, how can, I mean, he's just walking down the freaking hall, right? It was just so wrong on every level that you can imagine. And he just kept going, and, whatever. And I think that, that and other experiences I had growing up, living in Detroit until I was 5 in a very diverse neighborhood, formative experiences and things like, brought me to this place where I just feel like it's really about changing hearts. And, you can put your money in places, yes, and I can spend my money here, or I can donate to this cause. But how are we changing hearts? Because that's the only way. You can vote this way, you can vote that way. It comes down to one-on-one interactions, and really that's where true change happens throughout society. So that's why this is why I feel like that's where I'm at. I don't know. I just had to tell that story for some reason. Sorry. But yeah, it's the what? I've only had the one cocktail.
Ask Vivian.
I just kind of need to reinforce, for me, it matters so much that it's not contrived. My COVID shutdown shops were, and still, Martha's Vineyard and Rishi's Beverage. And these are organizations that are not white owned. And this is just my normal expression. It's like, I don't even think again. And I know about like, I don't want the job personally of holding somebody else accountable. I want to be able to be present for somebody when they're ready to make a transformation, but I'm not going to chase Sue when she goes to Target again. That's a choice, and I'm not going to berate my husband when he shops on Amazon again. But that I want to be able to be an example and just do the thing that's correct for me, but from an authentic place. And so that's cool. Like if other people feel like that's part of their job, but I think that's another piece of being like within your integrity. It's like be who you are still, and showing up not in a contrived way because we're supposed to act this way and that way right now. Like this is a big trend, but like who have you always been, and what do you need to unwind, and where do you need to get curious?
And here we need to remember also the new generation. We are talking about us as adults, but I think we are parents too. and we are the ones that we are going to go home, and we are going to influence this new generation how to be open-minded, how to listen, or how to welcome those, like, people that are coming to this area, to the West Michigan. And me especially, going through that with my oldest and even myself, I feel I'm one of them. I want to influence, and my kids are very, very open and to any culture, or they are making friends from all over. But I want to bring this to parents that are joining, even that they are going to be in that room, to take that home, to educate their kids, because it's okay for us adults to feel like, okay, we want to socialize, we want to invite different people to the room, but we want to take this home and in the right direction and bring it to our kids. We need to educate our new generation to keep on the same path.
I think one thing I'm going to say is, when I'm talking about accountability, I don't think I'm talking about like calling someone out, like, oh, you did this or you did that. Obviously, unless the other person asks for it. But I'm talking about, do you guys, I don't know if you all remember Amy Cooper. She was the white woman in New York City who called 911 on because she was afraid of this black man. And I think when we talk about Amy Cooper, I want all of us to realize, especially those of us who like are white, identify as a white Latina. So for those of us who are white, I want us to realize, like, we're all Amy Cooper. Maybe I haven't called 911 on someone who's not like me, on a black person, because I was afraid for my life. But in a sense, Amy Cooper is part of our community, right? Our society has created this space for Amy Cooper to survive, to be able to call 911. And I think when we cancel her, or we say, we're not like Amy, oh, I can't believe she did that, we absolve each other of our of the racism, of the harm, of the exclusion of other people. And so that's when I mean about, when I talk about accountability, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about reassessing how our society, and all of us as part of this society, are being part of purchasing power, or how we're building relationships. Are we just building relationships with people in our neighborhood, or people who make the same amount of money as all of us? That's what I mean when I talk about accountability. Yeah.
I think we hear you. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So,
Did everyone know the story?
what story?
Did everyone know the story that she was talking
Oh, the Amy Cooper story?
Everybody know?
Now that you've been reminded a little more about her, with the guy who was bird watching. Okay.
You're woke.
There's been a lot of stories.
You're woke.
Michelle, I want to say thank you so much for leading us through this dialogue. You were amazing and insightful and thoughtful, and I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It was really great getting to know all of you. And what's really exciting is just to see that people are truly wanting to build relationships with others in authentic ways. Especially what you were saying, Alexis, of trying to get to know other people, and create a space where they can show up as themselves. And I think that's critically important to creating a more just world.
Michelle, I have a question for you. How do
Yeah.
you react if you were to go to a store as soon as you are moving to this new area, West Michigan, and you are already, going through the tough time, and you're walking into a store, going to a self-checkout, but the machine got something going on with the machine, and you're going to ask one of the associates to come help you, and you're coming back to the same machine that you were standing by, and a woman behind you is saying, "Hello, lady, we are not cutting lines here. You need to wait in line. And I tried to explain to her, and I said, to explain the situation. And she said, why don't you go back to your country? We're not cutting lines here. And do you take the time to explain, or you just ignore, or what do you exactly do in this situation?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the person, right? It depends on you, and like if you want to engage in the emotional labor that is addressing that a microaggression, that violence that it sounds like you experienced. And sometimes I think that when we address it, it triggers the other person and makes them be even more violent. I think the trick in that space is to just. I mean, it depends on the space that you're in, right? Because you could make it even worse by trying to explain yourself. I think the idea would be, if you feel up to it, or if that person feels up to it, is to say, again, I'm not, trying to engage in this conversation. I'm waiting to be helped. If you have any questions, like, the manager is over there. But it's a really hard thing, because you shouldn't have to be experiencing that on your own. Us, like, if I was a witness there, it's my responsibility to say, hey, she's waiting, right? It's my responsibility to stand up and say, hey, she's waiting. Please, take a step back. This person, this isn't any of your business. And that's what I mean about, like, us all of it as a society taking the responsibility to begin to change these dynamics, because it shouldn't have to fall on you to have to do the emotional labor of addressing that violence and that aggression that you experienced.
Thank you.
I think you just look at them and say, how ignorant, it's pure ignorance. Basically, pure ignorance.
Yeah, I just trying to say, to explain the
Uneducated.
situation. People around me, actually, they give her that look, but they didn't say a word, but they give her like, what are you doing here? But then she caught me by, going out of the door to again give me that look and to tell me, go back to your country.
Wow.
Yeah,
Some people.
not just like by the recently. No, when we moved here, like I want to say it has been a couple of years.
Well, I know that we're way over time right now, and I think we'll continue to have dialogue here, and I hope that folks at home, I think the questions were already posted. I had them to post at 7 p.m., like pre-scheduled. So I think they will, folks at home can have their dialogues together if they're with their quarantine or family or a few friends. And again, thank you so much, Michelle, for being here with us and going overtime with us.
Of course, you're very welcome. I hope you guys continue to have a conversation tonight. I think it's important. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you all.
So will she come to our next?
Yeah, you're going to come to our next, whenever we can get together in live person again.
Yeah,
We
I
hope
would
you'll
love
be there.
to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Michelle.
Thank you. Great job.
So to one cocktail at a time,
Here we
people.
go.
Thank you for being here. Cheers. Cheers. Never the only one in the room.
Cheers. Thanks, Facebook Live, for tuning in.
Yes.
Cheers.